Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. Welcome to our Touch Day Academy webinar. Today we're going to be diving into the world of guest communication with our Memo messaging assistant. I'm Emma Cole. I'm head of product marketing at Touch Day. The lovely Tyann, our queen of guest experience and a property manager in her own right, will hopefully be joining us if she overcomes her technical issues. But if not, you'll just be with me for today. Just no problem. The show must go on. Wonderful. So why we wanted Tyann here today is because Tyann is a real life user of Memo. And so she's, don't take my word for it, speak from someone who uses Memo every day to manage their guest communications with a big property management business, but you will have to take my word for it. So let's go. Super. So lovely. So what will we cover today? So we're going to jump into an introduction to guest communications and why it's important to get it right. What is Memo and how to use it to automate your guest comms. Then just some examples of Memo in action to show that it's much, much more than just a simple messaging tool. And then we'll have time for a Q&A. So if you have any questions as we're going through today, please ask away. Pop your questions in the Q&A box and I will do my best to answer all of those questions when we get to that at the end. Hopefully I'll answer your questions as we go through. Lovely. So what is guest communication and why is it important? So let's establish that first. So you're thinking, can't I just leave guests alone? They've got the basic info from their booking platform or from your website if they book direct. What do they need more? What else is it? Well, this is a question that we set out to answer in our guest communication study that we put together last year. And some of the key stats that really stood out from this report and the questions that we asked to really try and answer this big overarching question, the data that we got back from this really highlights just how important a role communication plays in guest satisfaction. And we all know that happy guests are guests that come back and spread the good news about your business because they love your brand and they love the experience that they had. And happier guests are guests that are easier to upsell to, they're more likely to leave a good review, and they're more likely to book again. So as we can see on the slide here, more than a fifth of guests were missing information when they made a booking. So not able to have the full experience they were hoping to on their trip. It's quite a significant number of guests that weren't as happy as they could have been. And interestingly, also 69% of guests said communication really influenced the likelihood of leaving a positive review. We all know how important reviews are, whether they're your review on Airbnb, on another booking platform, or on Google. So there's lots of reasons why. Oh, and there's Tyann, amazing. At the perfect moment. It's like she planned it. Hey, Tyann. Wonderful.
Hello.
It's like you got my cue. This is exactly perfect timing. Wonderful. So to finish up here, I love it. So less than half of guests from our study didn't feel very well looked after. And that's something that we at Touch Day really care about because we want every guest to feel well looked after. So with this in mind and thinking about these things around why guest communication is important, we can hand over to Tyann, who is out there in the real world managing hundreds, if not thousands of guests every year to hear about what communication means to her and for her business. So Tyann, do you want to just briefly introduce who you are? She's the lady on the horse, as you can see on the slide. So Tyann, let us know, maybe just introduce yourself briefly and tell us what guest communication really means to you.
Hey, everybody. Communications is key, absolutely key for everything for us, especially as we manage lots of large homes. And well, I say lots, but everybody's perception of lots is different. We're at 22 properties, a handful of small ones, tiny home, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, but most of them are 4 to 10 bedrooms in size. So as Emma said, we have thousands of guests and we have guests who are trying to manage groups themselves. So we have 32 people in one house, and sometimes they'll have a large group of 50 to 75 people. So their success base is totally based on our success, how we communicate with them. And then running our business, it's my husband and I, and his daughter, Adrian, and her husband, Nick. So there's just 4 of us doing this. Oh,
we've lost her. Never mind. This is what happens with technology. So I think some of the wording got lost there. So Tyann is often managing groups of up to 70 people. So communication is super, super important to make sure all of the people coming to her properties, when they're coming with their family, with kids, with dogs, with all these people from the family, that communication is super important. And is she back? Is she back? Let's see. I'll keep talking, then she can just speak over me. Oh, here we go. Are we back? Are we back in the game? There you go.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's important. And as you can see, I'm out here property managing today, talking to the Chamber of Commerce and tracking UPS drivers down. It's a day in the life of a property manager.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a very nice real life example of what it's like wearing the multiple hats of a property manager all at once. All right, lovely. So it's okay, we'll carry on. Never mind, Tyann, thanks for popping in. So one of the things Tyann and I chatted about as we were preparing for this webinar is how does she use Memo in her day-to-day? She's back again, but let's see. And Memo is really crucial to Tyann when she's managing her communications, because as she said, they're a team of 4. And so for 4 people to be looking after thousands of guests, you really have to build in some automation, some scheduling to make your life a lot easier. Because without a solution, there's no possible way to manage the communication with thousands of guests yourself. So you really need a proper solution, which is what Memo does for Tyann. But Tyann, do you want to briefly outline your use of Memo? Maybe. There she is.
Yeah, I can try if we don't lose me. So Memo, I use it mainly for the text messages. So as the guest communication study had shown us, and what my gut told me from the very beginning, is that guests.
Classic. I think Tyann was trying to say that, and this is one of the things we learned through that guest communication study that I mentioned a few minutes ago, is that pre-stay and post-stay, guests really like receiving emails, but in just pre-arrival and then during the stay, it's text message that's really, really important for them. It's because no one wants to go trawling through their email apps while they're on their holiday. SMS is a bit more immediate. It's right there on your home screen of your phone. So it's a much friendlier way, really, of people being able to receive those messages from you ad hoc throughout your trip. Tyann, you were talking about SMS messages.
Yes. So text message right away with the invite to the guidebook. So it gets the guidebook into their hands. The planners have all the information they need right away. Those people who don't really plan things out, but they dip in about 2 weeks out, we actually send the digital guidebook by text, by memo again, and then closer to the stay as well. So that those folks who are just rock up on your doorstep, not looking at anything, they're like, oh, wait, yeah, that's right. It's right here at the top of my phone. And they can access the guidebook right away. I also use the memo texting to tell them, hey, I've sent you important information by email. If you don't see it, let us know. That way I can get the more detailed information to them that, yes, it's in their guidebook, but a lot of people like to also see it by email. Email, we make sure not to have more than 1 or 2 calls of action. So we'll direct them, check your email. And that really, really helps folks to find things that might have ended up in the spam folder if they've got really strict settings on their email. So that's the way I used Memo before the guests arrive. During their time there, we pretty much leave them alone after checking in with them to make sure they arrive safely, everything's good with the house. And then on the night before departure, our bigger houses, because it's really hard to wrangle a group of folks to get out of the house by checkout time the next morning, we send them a nice little memo text to say, hey, we're glad you had a great stay and we're really disappointed, sad you have to go, but don't forget, here's checkout instructions. And send that deep link to the departure instructions in the guidebook, and also tell them and remind them it's on the fridge because we have it where everybody can see it. So there's no surprises. And then that next morning at checkout, an hour and a half before the time they have to go, just a quick memo text to say, hey, we, check out strictly 10 a.m. or if we've updated their checkout time, it'll adjust with that because we're integrated with our PMS. And we'll just let them know it's strict. But if they've already left, please let us know so we can get our team a head start on cleaning the house. And I would say half the time they text us and let us know, hey, we've already left, or they'll let us know at checkout time when they leave, they'll let us know as well. So it's really great communication and setting expectations. That is super key, especially when you have really strict guidelines that you need your guests to stay adhering to so it doesn't mess up other guest stays and your team as well. So telling them what's going to happen, telling them it is happening, telling them it did happen, and always, always, always saying thank you and we appreciate you.
I love that. It sounds super friendly way of making sure that the guests are still getting that information, but you're making them feel very listened to and supported, and you're there. You're not intruding on their trip, but you're there in case they need you. I really love that approach. Super. All right. So hopefully everyone's thinking, okay, this sounds really awesome, but how can I do this myself? So that leads me on nicely into talking about how you can use Memo yourselves. And some of you are maybe thinking, Emma, what the heck is Memo? What is this? So let me dive in. So now we've established how important guest communication is in keeping your guest happy and hearing from Tyan's experience. Let's dive into how you can make all that kind of come to life with Memo. So Memo really takes a lot of the guesswork out of setting up your guest comms, especially if you're new to hosting and you're not really sure where to start. And even if you are super experienced, there are a lot of advanced features and options you can use to really make Memo work for you, no matter how you got things already set up. Or if you're thinking, maybe there's some gaps in my communication, or I'm not using text messages, Memo is there to help you add into some of those gaps. So you can share the right information with guests at the right time. So let's dive in how it all kind of works. So one of the first key things about Memo is that it makes it really easy for you to build out your guest comms. So it's the beauty of Memo is that it's really flexible and you can do what you want with it based on what you're trying to achieve. And I'll keep coming back to this idea of flexibility because I really want to hammer home just how much you can do with Memo based on the specific needs of your business and of your guests. So how does it work? So first, you choose your templates. You can also create your own templates, but we have a bunch already there for you. So that's taken off your plate. You don't really have to think too hard about, if you're not sure what your tone of voice is yet or how you want to be communicating, you can start off with our templates. So you simply select from one of the templates that exists, and it's that simple. The next thing you do is you create your messaging schedule. So you choose who you want to send this to, whether it's the primary guest or another recipient. You can manually add another recipient if you need to. And then you can choose how many days or weeks before or after the reservation window you want to be sending the specific messages. We have a little hack.
Hey, Emma.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in here on when you said you can send messages to other folks. We do utilize Memo text to text our team. So reminders of things that are going to happen. So like on arrival day, we will have memos sent to the team. Hey, such and such folk is arriving. Here is their phone number, because we give every single guest a call or a text after arrival. So then our team has that on their phone ready to go. They don't have to go digging into emails or into the PMS dashboard. It's right there and they can take care of things. We also have a memo text that goes out about the pool heating on the morning of the one with the pool. So then that makes sure that pool heat is correctly going. So when you think memo texting and automated text, it's not just your guest, but you can help manage communication within your team according to what type of reservations are going on and what tasks that you need to do.
Nice. That's really nice. And that's why we give you that option of sending to the primary guest or having different recipients that you can send to as well. That's a nice little extra feature. And you'll see here on this screenshot, we also have this little box here that says, don't send this message if the scheduled send date and time will be in the past. So what does that mean? So this is to really work with those last minute bookings. So say you have 10 different messages scheduled to go out, but a guest is booked one day in advance. You don't want 10 messages to go to your guest in the 24 hours before they trip. That's not the best experience. They'll get bombarded with all of those messages. So if you check that box here, only messages for pre-arrival will be sent. So they'll get maybe one or two of those messages. So this is why we always say to make sure that your guide link the link to your guidebook, is always included in your final pre-arrival message. So those last minute booking folks still get that really important link and the most crucial information. Lovely. And then the final point here is that you can personalize your messages. All the messages, whether it's template or creating your own, you can personalize them based on the booking info that you upload into TouchStay for each reservation, or you can have that automated if you're using one of our integrations with one of our PMS or booking platform partners. So we have 11 PMS integrations and one with Airbnb through our partnership with Hospitable Connect. So all of that booking info can be instantly added into TouchStay and used to personalize your messages. So these details are pulled in, and we call it a custom field, and it's a variable, so it's unique for each guest. So what could a custom field be? It could be the guest's name, their arrival date, whether or not they have pets. So you could let them know about your pet rules, or if you have a section of your guidebook that's about pets and the rules of the house, you can share that to them. And of course, you can include their unique and trackable guide link. Some of our integrations also pull through the Wi-Fi password and the door lock codes because these can often vary per property. So using the custom field variables is a great way to not only personalize the messages that you're sending and show a bit of your hospitality and that personal touch, but also make sure that that really important info that you couldn't send to everyone individually, like the door lock code, you can do that now because that's automated with these field codes. So love a time-saving hack. So that's very much in a nutshell, the basic version of how Memo works. So it's really super simple. People often think, oh gosh, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do with these templates. It is honestly so simple. If you log into your account, or if you're new to TouchStay and don't have an account yet, you want to go in and have a play around, it's all there and you'll be surprised with how easy it is to get set up. So lovely. That's how to build out your guest comms to start with. Now we'll look about how you can use Memo to share the right info with your guests. So this is all about sharing the info that they need when they need it. And this is kind of what I think is one of the biggest benefits of using Memo. So every Memo message can include a unique trackable guide link. So that's the link to your TouchStay guidebook. Each of these links is completely unique to each reservation. And the best part about it is you can track whether they have been viewed by the guest or not and how many times they're being viewed. So this is a really great way to know that your messages are landing, that the guide link is being accessed, and that people are interacting with and enjoying, hopefully, the content in your guidebook. So it's a really great, very simple tool to understand top-level engagement with your guidebook. And if someone hasn't seen your guide and you know they need to because the check-in instructions are in there, that's a note to you, okay, I need to send them another message, or maybe I need to give them a call. The next great part about Memo is how it really helps you send messages containing links to specific sections of your guide. So either a category, a subcategory, or even a very specific topic section within your guidebook. And these links that you create, that you can pop in these messages, we call them deep links. So when you send a message to your guests and it has a link to the guidebook, instead of opening on the default, which is the cover photo, the lovely, beautiful cover photo of your guide and like the entrance page, instead you direct them to a specific part of that guidebook to the most relevant info that they need. So that could be the Wi-Fi code that they'd be able to access just as they've arrived or a little bit before. It could be a link to book a trip or a restaurant. It could even be a link to book a different kind of service using our Jotform embed, which is something I'll get onto in a minute. We have lots of different ways that you can upsell to your guests using what we call custom elements in TouchStay. So you can have your custom element, your little Jotform in the guide, and then you can use the deep link to pop that into a Memo message and send that off to your guests. A lot of our customers are actually using a custom element Jotform to help manage check-in and self-check-in. Referring back to that guest communication study, we found that 67% of guests say that self-check-in really made their stay more enjoyable. And we've started to see lots of customers now who are using Memo and that custom element Jotform to let their customers manage that self-check-in through the guide. So that's another great way of making things a bit easier for your guests. Now, the final piece here is that people often overlook the text message templates and really focus on email. You might be thinking that texts are a bit old school, but you've already heard Tyann speaking about how she uses text messages in conjunction with email. And we know from our guest communication study that 44% of guests do actually prefer to receive texts during their stay. So it's really thinking about the format of the messages that you're sending, not just the fact that you're sending a message. So if we dig into the humble text message a little bit more, and you're like, Emma, stop going on about the text message, but I will keep going on about it because they really are this secret superpower that you have for getting information to your guests. We know now that Airbnb are holding on to those guest email addresses, and other booking platforms aren't making it as easy as it used to be to get those email addresses, but they do give you the phone number. So you have to find more creative ways to stay in touch with your guests, and this is where the text message comes in. Research from Guesty shows that nearly 80% of consumers prefer businesses to communicate with them via text, and 90% of the messages that are sent are read within 3 minutes. So that's a really high engagement rate, and there's no risk of that message going into spam, no risk of it getting lost. It's right there on the guest's home screen, and that's just a much less intrusive way of intruding on their holiday, but just letting them have that there on their phone, easy to access. So think about text messages when you're thinking about your overall guest communications flow. And this is a great moment to think it's not just about the content of those messages, it's really the format, and that can go a long way into driving guest satisfaction as well. Super. Then on to how Memo helps with deepening guest relationships. So now we're getting into some of the really fun stuff that Memo can do. So you can combine the use of Memo with other touch day features using the deep links that I told you about a few minutes ago. So a couple of these that I wanted to surface that are really useful to a lot of our customers. First is the first impressions topic. This is what you can send to guests just after they arrive so they know everything is okay. They can send you a star rating, and they can also add a comment. This is really, really useful if something has gone wrong. If something isn't very clean, or if the Wi-Fi isn't working, or if something's not as it should be, this is a fantastic way for you to ask guests to give you feedback and for them to let you know if something's not going okay. Because if something's gone wrong, as long as you can fix it in a timely manner, you can really have a positive impact on that guest's experience. If they don't have a way of telling you or letting you know something's gone wrong, it can lead to a bad time. So this is a great way of just doing that little extra check just after they've arrived. So that's the first impressions topic. Then we have our email capture topic. This helps you collect guest emails in a quite friendly way, so you can continue to market to them after they leave and really help foster those repeat visits. And you can also send a link to your review site. So whether that's through send them back to Airbnb, if you want to send them to your website or Google reviews, you can just create a custom Memo template, drop the relevant link or deep link in there, and Memo will send off that message to your guest. So it's just another nice way of combining the use of Memo with additional touch day features and linking them into those messages, sending them out to guests. And as you can see from the quote at the bottom of the page here, this has been used by one of our quite large property manager customers, Brooks and Shorey Resorts. And they really focus on using Memo for managing their guest communications. And almost 60% of their guests are repeat customers. And they say that that's really all down to how well they're using Memo, because it really helps them stay connected with those guests and it not just be random messages and this faceless business that you book your trip with. It's really about actually having a deeper connection and fostering that hospitality. So a little note, you might be thinking, okay, well, how do I get my reservation information to populate these messages? You know, how do I manage all of this? So Memo also works alongside our integrations. We have 11 PMS, property management solution integrations, and 1 booking platform integration, and that's with Airbnb. And with most of our integrations, including Airbnb, you can use the trackable guidebook links that I mentioned earlier to send through to your guests. So whether that's into the PMS's unified inbox or directly through into Airbnb, you can instantly get that trackable guidebook link into the hands of your guests, which is very, very helpful. And you can also create custom emails and texts to supplement. So if you've already got your messaging flow set up through your unified inbox through your PMS, fantastic, keep using that. But you can either, if the integrations have the ability to send that guidebook link, we totally encourage you to do that as well. If the integration doesn't allow us to do that, because a few of them don't, you can use TouchStay to make sure that you're getting that guidebook into your guests' hands. So, and it's also another way of supplementing the existing guests' comms flow that you already have set up. So if text messages aren't part of what you've had through a unified inbox that you're using, and if it's something you want to start trying, it's all included in your TouchStay subscription. So it's a great way to just enhance what you're already doing, and it works beautifully in tandem with your PMS system too. Lovely. So I think I've gone through Memo and explained, hopefully, quite briefly how it works, and hopefully showed that it's quite simple. One of the things I really want to share is that Memo is very much more than just this basic messaging tool. Because it works completely in conjunction with your TouchStay guidebooks, there's so much that you can do. You can use it to help manage upsells. You can use it to send seasonal one-off messages. Like we have a great example from a customer who during July, they're based in the US, when it's 4th of July, they set up a message template that says if guests arrive just before or are with me on the 4th of July, send them a message inviting them to the fireworks party. Like, that's just a super nice way of marking the season and the time a guest is with you, and really putting a personal touch into that. And everyone loves fireworks, so why would you not want people to get involved? You can also, as I've mentioned before, offer your guests smoother check-in. You can gather reviews and guest feedback. Like, it's not just for sending information, it's really about this fully interactive, holistic guest communication way of thinking. So I have some nice examples that I'll show you. So an example that we've used ourselves. So we had an event at BRMA, the big conference last year in Orlando. And Tyann, you can see her in that beautiful picture there in her cape. We had a Star Wars themed event called Camp Padawan. We had lightsaber training. And you can see I'm there along with Andy, our CEO, and Alice from our social media team. And we of course, created a TouchStay guidebook as the event guide. So we had people traveling from all over the world coming to this conference. And so that we could make sure everyone knew what day to arrive, what time they had to be there, where on this enormous hotel complex they had to meet us. We used the guide to have all that information together, but crucially, we were using Memo's text message function to get messages out to people. Here's your guidebook. Make sure you've confirmed you're coming. This is where to meet us. And this is the van that you'll be in as we're taking you over to the event space. So we got to, we put our money where our mouth is, and we use this ourselves when we're running events. So it was a really super way for us to use Memo to build anticipation for this event and keep people excited. Some of you with quite eagle eyes might have noticed on the little GIF here that's showing some of the text messages that were sent for the event that I was attending as well. So these were sent to me on my phone. You can see that the sender ID says TouchStay. Now, not everyone will know what TouchStay is, and we don't really care about people knowing about TouchStay. We want your guests to know about your business and your branding. So we haven't released this yet, but I've been given permission to share the news. It's coming very soon. Soon you'll be able to add either your name as the sender name, or your business name, or the name of the property that guests will be coming to. Whatever you want it to be, you'll be able to put that here. So that feature is coming soon. So stay tuned. And we'll certainly share that in our Rockstar community group, our Facebook group, and through email as well. So stay tuned. If that's something that you've, to add that additional bit of personalization, that's coming very soon. So keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully the product team won't be angry at me for gazumping them on the announcement. And another example, I'm a bit obsessed with Taylor Swift, as everyone who knows me will know. So I couldn't miss out on an opportunity to share this one. So you heard me speaking about custom elements earlier. So custom elements is, we have about 15 of them now, and it's a way that you can embed different third parties into your guidebook, into your TouchStay guide. So the example here is for the Taylor Swift playlist that I have embedded into my guidebook. So I live in Barcelona, and I have lots of people coming to visit me. So I put together a city guide for Barcelona, which is what you can see in the GIFs that's moving around. And in there, I have a link to my Taylor Swift playlist, the Barcelona Swifties playlist, because there's loads of club nights in Barcelona that just play Taylor Swift music, which is my heaven. Might not be for most people, but it is for me. So I popped this playlist in my guidebook, and when I have friends visiting, I just send them a text, and it has the link to that section of the guidebook, and they can pull up the playlist on their phone and get excited for their trip. They don't all have to be about Taylor Swift, I promise you. We have a customer, for example, in New Zealand who has a lot of stargazing going on at their property because it's in a beautiful natural area. And they've created some stargazing playlists that they've popped into their guidebook. And then they send those through a memo message to their guests. So it's a really nice way of combining the different functionality of Touch Day and surfacing that in a really cool, frictionless way for your guests. So give it a go. There's loads of custom elements that you can choose from. There's playlists, there's forms, there's calendars, there's different all trails, walks. There's loads of stuff you can do. So have a look and see what you can add to your guide. Lovely. And so you're probably thinking, well, Tyan's using this, we're using this, who else is using this? So I just wanted to show that we have so many of our customers who are absolutely loving Memo and using it to really help with their business. And the reason I'm talking about this and going on about it so much is it really does make a difference to our customers day to day, saving time, improving the guest experience, helping you scale up that guest communication, but still keep that friendly, personable touch. And it's really all about making things easy for you and making sure your guests have a great time. So if you're not using it already and this has helped to pique your curiosity, I do encourage you to log into your account and give it a go and see how Memo might work for you and work for your business. So that brings us to our Q&A. So we've covered quite a lot of content. So I can see there are lots of questions. So let's see. Lovely. Okay, so I'm just going to run through them one by one. So we have a question. Any news when you'll be integrated with Hospitable? Not yet, but keep your eyes peeled. I can't give you any more information, but it's definitely coming. And a question.
I think a big question, a lot of folks are asking about the responsive guest, the two-way messaging. And so right now, I want to tell y'all, it's one way. It's a push message. It's not a two-way where the guest can reply. And when the team told me this, it's been a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, personally, I didn't think it would work. And I'm like, guys, I need two-way. This is what I need. And they said, just try it out and see what you think. And so obviously I'm still using it. We love it. I'm glad it's one way because what happens is I am feeding information to my guest and I don't have the noise of a guest doing thumbs up or saying thank you or saying okay.
Awesome. I think what Tyan's trying to get at there is Memo's purposely been built to be a one-way messaging system and not two-way. And the reason for that, as Tyan is saying, it's to cut out that noise. It's to really make things much more streamlined for you and for the guests. The point of Memo is that it answers those questions for guests before they really think about asking them. So that at each step of the journey, right from the booking to pre-arrival, once they've arrived and then once they've left, you're dripping the right information to them at the right moment, so they don't even have to ask you a question. The goal of it is to really cut down on questions, cut down on unnecessary phone calls and emails, and make your lives a lot easier. So that's really the reason why it is one way and why a guest cannot respond to the emails or to the text messages. You can, of course, and because through the guide on the home screen, the guests have your contact details. So the guests can still call you, they can still text you, and they can even WhatsApp you as well from clicking those buttons on the homepage in the guide. So it's still possible for guests to get in touch. But as Tyan says, it's really to cut down on that noise and make your lives a bit easier. Lovely.
Emma, am I back now?
Yes, you're back.
Am I back?
Yeah. Kind of. You're not quite back, Tyan. Let's not worry. Let's go through some more of these questions. So we had a question, can you send emails, text to all of your guests at one time? Yes. So for all of the guest information that you've either uploaded or linked through your PMS into TouchStay, you can set your schedule to send immediately. So as soon as the booking has been created and either pulled into TouchStay through the PMS, or you've created that guest record in TouchStay, you can message all of your guests at once. Or you can adjust it automatically based on the date of arrival for the guest. So it's very, very flexible. So you can send messages pretty much to all of your guests at once if you want to, or at different times based on different criteria. So it's got that flexibility built in. Super. Going through some of these questions, what else do we have? A lot of them really were about the two-way messaging. So thank you, Tanya, for answering that one. That's great. Do you support automating short URLs for deep links into TouchStay? That is something that we've looked into. That's a very great question. We don't have that capability right now, as far as I'm aware. You can, so what you can do, it's possible to download all of the deep links to your guide in bulk in one file. You just go to the download section of your account, click download, and it will give you all of your deep links. And then it would be a bit laborious to do, but you could then use a URL shortening service like TinyURL, pop them in there, pull out those short links, and then pop those into Memo. It's not the best solution, but that's certainly a really great point, and something I can take to the team as feedback. So thank you to Peter who asked that question. Lovely. Other questions. How do you send text between team members? So again, it's that one, it would be that one-way messaging. So Tyann, for example, was saying that when a guest lets them know they've checked out, she can then automatically send a message to all of her cleaning crew who need to go to that property. So she would just go into TouchStay, click send on that template that she's already got set up, and it'll send to the group of people that she needs for it to go to. Lovely. What else? Could you please provide an example and instructions on how to create a memo? So for that, hopefully some of this has shown you how to do that. What I would recommend is going to our knowledge base and searching for Memo, and it will bring up a lot of different videos and help articles, which shows you specifically how to do that. On our YouTube channel as well, there's quite a lot of examples taking you step by step on how to create the messages. But I do encourage you to go into TouchStay and give it a go yourself. It really is that simple. You just log into your account, go to Memo, which is along that top bar, and it will bring you up to the main Memo page. And it will have where it says templates, and you can add email template or add SMS template. You'll see the list of templates, and you can either use one of those and play around with it, or you can create your own custom template from that same list as well. And nothing will be set up or sent until you've set the sending criteria and saved that message as well. So it's perfectly safe to go in and play around and give it a go. So if you are thinking, oh, I'm still not feeling quite confident about giving it a go, I really do encourage you to go into your TouchStay account and give it a try, because it really is quite simple. I'm not a very techie person and I can do it, so I promise you, I promise you it's okay. Lovely. And I think that's the majority of our questions. Someone asked, are we integrated with Tokeet? We're not, I'm afraid. Can't help you with that one. And was there anything else? No, that's all of our questions answered for now. Wonderful. Well, I hope this has been helpful to folks. I'd like to point you towards a couple of different resources that we have. Oh, wait, we do have another question. Oh, no, we don't. That's fine. Never mind. So thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope this has been helpful and given you a nice introduction into Memo and really just why guest communication is so important. There are two resources for you on the screen here. On the left is the link to that guest communication study that I've referenced a lot. It really is great reading. So grab a cup of tea or coffee, sit down with that. It's a really wonderful resource if you're thinking about how to enhance your guest communication, or if you're brand new to this and just figuring it all out. It is a treasure trove of information and really practical advice on what to do with your guest comms. And then the QR code on the right, this is a link to join our Facebook group, our Rockstars community. There's 2,500 property managers, hosts, TouchStay users in there. And again, it's a treasure trove of questions, answers, different topics being discussed. And it's a really great way to learn more about Touch Day and get your questions answered, whether it's about Touch Day specifically or anything to do with the world of short-term rentals and of course, guest communication. So those 2 QR codes there for you, scan them and it will take you to either of those resources. The recording of this webinar will be sent to you afterwards within the next day or so. So don't worry if you want to go through it again in your own time, you absolutely can. Thank you all so much for joining and for bearing with us during a little technical issue. It's always something, but we persevere nonetheless. That's the life of property managers and short-term rental life. There's always a curveball being thrown at you. Wonderful. So thank you all so much. I hope this has been useful. And yes, hopefully see you all in the Facebook group very soon. Thank you. Take care. Bye.